Hi everyone, Nothing Me Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Wavves record, V. There you are. Where you been? Here. Just here. What you been doing? Nothing. That's what I like to hear. Wavves is the pseudonym, or I guess the band, fronted by Mr. Nathaniel Williams, a guitarist, singer-songwriter from California. He came up in the midst of the blogosphere's obsession with lo-fi music in the late 2000s, breaking out with the album Wavves. And Nathan was really quick and very smart not to continue to capitalize on this trend because it was on its way out the door. And with his next full-length album, King of the Beach, an album I liked a lot more than Wavves, he had a studio recording, a lip-smacking, hard-hitting, punky, loud, punchy, clear studio recording. And not only did he gravitate away from that lo-fi thing, he also incorporated more elements of punk music and power pop and a bit of surf music too, and some lyrics that kind of painted him as this very lazy, kind of funny, nihilistic, stoner, slacker dude. And ever since the release of this album, he's been more of a studio recording artist than he has been a lo-fi artist, although on his next full-length album, which I didn't really care for, he and his band tried to, I guess, revive all of these 90s Nirvana-isms and grunge-isms, which didn't really play out that well. So going into this new record over here, I was kind of hoping for less 90s worship, especially since nostalgia and just recreating this kind of music is so easily within reach for so many other less talented bands. To my ears, Nathan has already established Wavves with a really rough around the edges, fun, pop-punk sound. Why not continue to just fan those flames? And that's essentially what happens on this new record over here, titled V, for Wavves' fifth album, although it is Nathan's first for Warner Brothers Records, where this thing is being released. Real punk! Real punk on Warner Brothers! And another thing that was kind of confusing up to the release of this album was how Nathan was rebelliously releasing songs to his album, saying, I don't care what Warner Brothers thinks, I'm releasing songs from this album anyway. For sure, it's faster, and it feels louder and more hard-hitting and punkier than the last Wavves album, but I just think the lyrics and the songwriting is a little out to lunch on this thing, because there are some moments on this album that are just downright annoying, though I don't totally fault the performance here. I mean, the bass, the drums, the guitars, the vocals, they're all really tight, super tight, suspiciously tight, to the point where I don't really feel like I'm listening to a loose, wild kind of punk recording. The only thing on this mix that feels kind of blemished are the guitars, which have a very tattered, rough, distorted tone to them, and Nathan's vocals, which I guess are a little unkempt and slovenly, not really in kind of this wild, rebellious sort of way, but more in like a lazy, I don't care, kind of way. Which I guess now that I think about it, kind of feels like a bit of a disconnect with the music. I mean, the music that we're hearing here is actually, again, very tight, very precise, not a single sound or anything out of place. Whereas Nathan, on top of all of this music, just sounds really strung out and almost as if he just has no real purpose. And I can't help but think of some other rock records that have turned up earlier this year, sort of like that new Desaparecidos record. This new album over here is similarly over-compressed to the point where the drums and the bass and the guitars just all melt together in this really hideous, just really unappealing way. And another thing that this album sort of is sharing with that Desaparecidos album is that for something so loud, it's so not exciting. It's like listening to a revolution against nothing, which this album has that in common with the new Fiddler album too. And V kind of showcases a similar attitude and life philosophy as well, like this whole woe is me, life sucks kind of worldview, which, not that Nathan hasn't had that before. I mean, it was there on King of the Beach, but at least in that context, there were some catchy songs to go along with it. And Nathan's vocals did sound a little wilder, a little more, I guess, out of control. On here, though, it's as if Nathan is selling that slacker attitude to the point where it's actually affecting the quality of his vocal performances. Like, he's just so above caring about anything that we have some songs on the back end of this record, like Crybaby, which are really excruciating to listen to. This record is just really doing nothing for me and just gets so old for me so fast, which is bad because it's such a short album. It's not even that long of an album. It doesn't even take this album that long to just grate on my nerves. And one single song here and there, listening to the singles leading up to this thing, it wasn't too bad. I thought that they might all come together into something a little bit more exciting, but rather what I got here was just a bit of a, I guess, a musical purgatory that I just got more and more frustrated with my surroundings as I sat and stayed in this place, almost as if I had claustrophobia and the just overly loud and compressed instrumentation and Nathan's really obnoxious vocal delivery combined with the fact that he didn't really say much of anything interesting lyrically on this record, and the songs were just weak, track after track after track after track. This was just really a slog. I'm feeling a strong 4 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this record a listen? If you have, did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Antoine Fantoine here. Wavves V forever.